It's strawberry shortcake season, and that's exactly what I'm going to make today. The shortcake biscuit that's a bit cakey, a bit flaky, perfect served with cream and fresh strawberries, and it's easy to do with your hands. So let's get started. The method for making a shortcake is very similar to making a scone or scone, depending how you say it. I've got my flour in my mixing bowl. I'll add just a little bit of sugar, not too much, but a generous amount of baking powder, 4 teaspoons. That's what we count on to really lift our shortcake. And a touch of salt. I will be using a pastry blender to combine everything, so I'll just use that to give this a stir. And now I want to work with cold butter. This is cold unsalted butter. And to work it in quickly and evenly, just pull out your box grater. Now, this is my ancient box grater. It's not even sharp anymore, and I love it for grating butter. I can't seem to get rid of it. I'll try another grater, and then all of a sudden I'm grating my knuckles, and I don't like it, so I go back to this. If it's a really hot day, when it's strawberry season, you can always pop the butter into the freezer to make sure it's really nice and cold. Or if your hands are particularly warm. And don't worry if there are a couple pieces bigger than the grating itself. I'll just get all that good butter in there. And now I do tend to fly through this pretty quickly, so I'll try and slow down a little bit. First, I give the cold butter a bit of a toss in the flour. That way it doesn't, all that work I did to grate it in, it doesn't turn into a lump within the flour. And now I change my motion and I start twisting the pastry blender. You can also do this with 2 forks or 2 butter knives. It takes a little longer. So I'm breaking up those pieces into the flour. And think about it less about working the butter into the flour, but coating those butter pieces with the flour. Because those little pieces of butter, when they melt, are going to produce a bit of steam, and that pushes up the flour around it. And that gives you that flaky, yet still a bit cakey shortcake. Okay, I've got a nice, even, crumbly mixture here. The flour has taken on a touch of a butter color to it, barely any, but this is where I stop with the pastry blender. I'm using my hands so I can switch the motion and now flatten those little pieces of butter. See how immediately you get those little flaky pieces, and that is going to build a beautiful flakiness into the shortcake so that it's easy to split, and it just adds to that texture that you expect in a strawberry shortcake. Of course, there are shortcakes of all varieties. There are the cake, sponge cake versions. There are the more formal versions with strawberry mousse. There's a recipe here on the channel for a Fraisier torte. Strawberries and cream just go together. So to have a little pastry of a shortcake is ideal. I'd say this is the simplest version of a strawberry shortcake. Okay, in that little time it took me to do my narrative on strawberry shortcake, I have now really worked in the butter, so you can't see big visible pieces anymore. There's not nearly as much butter as there is in a pie dough, so you don't really have to worry about overworking it or overdoing it. It's still quite dry, but those butter pieces are flattened. Now, let's work in some liquid. I rely on just regular milk and a whole egg. I'll crack those in and just give that a little stir to break up the egg. And now I'll just make a hole there. I've got a well in the bottom of the flour. In goes the liquid. I'll briefly switch to a spatula, but I will be using my hands again to finish bringing the dough together. So I stir it in the bowl just until I don't see any visible open liquids. no drips happening, but I still have lots of flour visible. So now I turn this out onto my work surface. And you can have a little extra flour nearby in case your hands are warm or it is sticky out and your work surface might be sticky. But now I want to finish bringing the dough by hand and using the same technique we use when we make puff pastry, which is the folding and layering, folding and layering. I'm using that same method here to again promote those flaky yet soft layers. So this has by no means a texture of puff pastry, but the method still applies. So I'm just flattening with my hand. And if you wanted to add something, if you were making a more traditional scone and you wanted to add raisins or walnuts or dried cranberries, at this point, this is where you add it while you're folding and bringing the dough together. And so as long as I have these little crumbly pieces on the outside, I keep going. I just place them on top, fold, lift, rotate, flatten, lift and fold. Yeah, it is a warm day out here. Strawberries are in season first, then before you know it, it'll be cherries and raspberries and blueberries, and then peaches. There we go. So now the dough has come together and you can see I didn't really have a lot of contact time. Use a second tool that doesn't warm up to help complete the process. And if I were making traditional scones, I would flatten this out into a disc and cut my wedges, but I would like to do a cutout for my shortcakes. So I'm flattening the dough out to about 2 centimeters thick. Make sure it's not sticking. Got my baking tray lined with parchment, and this is a 2.5-inch cutter. And now you cut out your shortcakes, and you've got that sort of, you won't see it until you actually try and separate it, but you've got that subtle built-in flakiness in the shortcakes. This dough re-rolls very easily. So get as many as you can. I find I average 10, but sometimes it depends. It could be a little less if I'm making them taller, or it can be more if I'm making them a little bit flatter. I like to brush the tops with milk to promote a little even browning. It doesn't make them shiny, but I'm dusting these with icing sugar anyhow. And my shortcakes are all set for the oven. I've preheated it to 400. Scones, shortcakes, biscuits all take a hot oven, and these will take anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes to bake. Nice. There'll be an even golden brown on the bottom and a light golden brown on top, but you'll see they really turn fluffy. And here are the shortcakes out of the oven. Beautiful light golden brown, a little darker on the bottom. That's typically what happens. But you get that sense that they're fluffy, yet flaky at the same time. Let me grab a couple for my plates. I'm just going to split them in half. Oh, look at that nice texture. It'll soak up the berry juices. When strawberries are in season, you want to keep it simple. I've got some chantilly cream, which is simply a fancy way of saying whipped cream with a little vanilla in it. And our fresh sliced strawberries. Little dusting of icing sugar on top. Oh, and you've got just the best type of seasonal dessert. These are ideal for home entertaining because you can make your shortcake ahead of time. I recommend baking them the day you want to serve them. Get your strawberries ready, your creams ready in the fridge. My secret ingredient to stabilizing whipped cream so we can whip it ahead of time. Skim milk powder, a tablespoon for every 1 cup of cream that you whip. And there you have it. A delicious strawberry shortcake dessert whipped up in no time.